Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today, we got a pretty interesting show for you guys that we definitely want you guys to stick around for. But before we get into it, please make sure you subscribe to our Dreamerspro Short Clips channel that we have linked in the comment section, and make sure you follow us on Facebook. We have both of those things linked in the comments. We have a lot of interesting content coming out there starting today. Anyway, let me get into this conversation. Now, this is something that I've been kind of vacillating, going back and forth between whether or not we should produce a show on this or we should just kind of stay away from it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this aspect of things being scripted in the NBA and sports. And the reason I kind of stayed away from it is for two reasons. Number one, because I had no evidence to point to at all whatsoever to say, okay, this thing is being controlled and this is a controlled outcome. And number two, I didn't really hear a lot of people discussing it. It was just kind of like a rumor that just kind of circulates throughout the NBA community. But as y'all know, as the playoffs are going on, people have been complaining about free throws. This team, I was watching the Lakers, Golden State Warriors series. Just pretty weird kind of free throw discrepancies. One game, one team is heavily favored to get free throws. The other game, I was watching game 3, I believe. The Golden State Warriors had a pretty good control of the game, and I think that if you remove the referees from that game, the Warriors probably it just slowed the entire game down, and the game got pretty dirty. And it just muddied up the game, right? But nevertheless, again, I don't produce content around this because I have nothing to lean my hat on. So I don't talk about these things. So over the last few days or so, John Salley made his perennial appearance on Vlad TV. I think he goes on there maybe 2 or 3 times a year. I know some people ask me, why do I watch Vlad? I'm not into the reason why people feel like I shouldn't be watching. I'm watching that for for information, number one. I don't care about the reason people have issues. I don't care. That's not my cup of tea. I'm not even interested in that. We're thinking of business and all these. Why would I waste my time thinking about that? But anyway, so I was watching this interview, and you were talking about different things, and then it got to the point where they were discussing Charles Oakley, right? And Charles Oakley had made some Charles Oakley had made some comments about Isaiah Thomas, former Detroit Piston, top 75 player, 2-time champion. And they were kind of talking about that. Now, as you know, John Salley was a former Laker, former Detroit Piston, and I believe he was a former Chicago Bull. So he knows Michael Jordan, he knows Isaiah Thomas, he knows Charles Oakley, he knows all of these guys. He's like a NBA historian. He has all the stories, right? So it got to the part where they were discussing kind of the relationship or lack thereof between Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan. And they were talking about, because, the bad boys Pistons were the ones that were, giving the Bulls a hard time. And funny enough, he said that the Detroit Pistons didn't come up with that name. It was actually given to them by the league. They themselves did not come up with that name, which I thought was very, very surprising. But anyway, as he was talking, he said something quite interesting towards the end that really kind of disturbed me. So what we want to do is we want to play exactly what he had to say here, and then we'll come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to what John Salley had to say on Vlad.
The other thing Charles said is Isaiah wants Michael to be his friend. And Isaiah, he don't want to be a friend. And, he made a joke of that. Mm-hmm. But Isaiah is the right one in this situation. He did come in, well, let's get some truth. He did become the face of Chicago. And Isaiah wasn't the face of Chicago because he played for Detroit. That part is true. Another reason is people in Chicago didn't like that Isaiah was winning against their Chicago Bulls, and he's from Chicago. But Charles has to realize, Isaiah, and I told you this on this show, I played with everybody, but there's nobody like this 6-foot kid from the south side of Chicago. There's nobody like it. I've watched him do miracles at 6 feet tall. When everybody else is 6'6", 6'7", referees on your side, the lead is on your side. You have to understand, we were not part of the script. We interrupted the script. And if you don't believe there's a script, we interrupted the script.
So you heard what he said at the end, that he mentioned something about a script. And he said, if you don't believe there's a script, he did something like this, which I did like this. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it means that maybe you're naive or something. I don't know exactly what that means. But I kind of, after hearing him say that, I kind of walked away with this feeling of like, wait, what is he talking about? What is he referring to? What does he mean? Right? What does he mean? It's like he knew something that he wasn't willing to go really deep into. And I'm like, script, what is he talking about, the script? And with the thought in the back of my mind, I watch a lot of games and I'm like, but how is this even possible? How could it be possible? Even if there was, how could it be possible? You're watching games, guys are being competitive, the guys are going at each other. So how could you script something like, how is it possible? And it's probably one of the reasons why it's so hard for me to believe it. Because you're watching the games and you're like, how could this game be, how could the outcome be determined in any way? How do you do it? Right? And that's the part I wish he expounded on. And it's a shame that Vlad didn't pick up on that. Maybe Vlad knows he didn't want to talk about it. I don't know, but I wish Vlad would have kind of, discussed that with him a little bit further and kind of piggybacked on that statement and said, but what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Unfortunately, he didn't. But it left me kind of thinking what I think a lot of people are thinking, which is I think a lot of people have the feeling, but they don't have any conclusive evidence. Now, some people will claim they do. I don't know what it is. Obviously, we have the Tim Donaghy debacle. But I just walked away thinking to myself, what am I missing here? What don't I know here? What's this thing that we're not getting? And how is he privy to this information? How did he get a hold of it? Where did he get that information from? Right? So I walked away from that, just kind of scratching my head, wishing I had more information. And to this present moment, it's all just speculation on my part. It's all speculation because there's no way I can personally prove it. There's no way, literally, I can do it. But what he said just kind of stuck with me, and and I was just thinking about it. And I'm just gonna walk away wondering, I wonder what he was discussing. Like, what was he alluding to? So what I want to know from you guys is, what do you think he was alluding to? And number one, do you think there's any validity to it? And number three, do you think that this should only be taken serious with conclusive evidence? And if not, then we should not take it serious at all. Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts in the comment section. And we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.